Good morning, all. Welcome to Announcements with the Kathy Gray Avatar. If you're with us on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us on Zoom, drop us a hi in the chat. We'd love to say hello back. If you're with us in person, hello everybody here. And if this is your first visit, go ahead and sign the guest book either in the lobby or at oakcliffuu.org/guests. Today's service features Leah Pittmon, member and longtime youth religious education teacher. I'm certain you'll enjoy Leah's story of her personal spiritual journey. And at the end of the service, there will be an Easter egg hunt for all ages. There's more. We invite you to stick around after the service today, either for Talkback, where we gather in a circle and discuss the sermon and related topics, or for adult religious exploration with Sarah Rickey, in person in the Charity Building classroom and on Zoom. Or maybe take the opportunity to explore our grounds. The Bluebonnets are outstanding this year. What's coming up this week? Every Monday, our Widening the Circle of Concern group meets at 3 p.m. on Zoom. If you would like to help us on our path to becoming an anti-racist church, please consider joining. At the meeting last week, work began on a microaggression toolkit with the goal of giving folks the tools they need to respond to their mistakes in a constructive way. It's meant to be a quick start guide, an easy to remember and fast way to start making our congregation a safer space for people of color. You're invited to check out the rough draft of this toolkit in the Widening the Circle of Concern group on channels. Also, it explains stop, drop, and roll. The draft can be found in the Behavioral Covenant Project thread. We would love your feedback at WCOC@oakcliffuu.org. And if you are white identifying, our White Accountability Group meets on campus and on Zoom on the first and third Sunday at 12:15. So our next meeting is April 16th. Teamwork Tuesday continues this week with more planting and weeding and miscellaneous TLC for our campus, inside and out. Also this Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month, the Coordinating Council will be meeting at 7 p.m. All ministry and committee heads are expected to attend, but the meeting is open to all. Next Sunday, Jazz Jam returns. Come play, sing, or just listen. You're welcome to bring food and drink for yourself or to share. Admission is free. All of this information can be found in your order of service and your weekly e-blast. Oh, just one more thing. We have member anniversaries to recognize. Mary and Stephen Martinson joined April 4th, 2017. Our dear former choir director, Glorianne Mulligan Stratton, joined April 5th, 1987. And Kat and Mike Luster joined 7 years ago today, April 9th, 2016. That's it for now. Have a great Sunday.
Welcome to the UU Church of Oak Cliff. Here we gather in sanctuary where we're free to pursue our own unique and individual spiritual journeys in an atmosphere of acceptance, compassion, and celebration. We seek to build a community where what you believe is less important than how your beliefs guide and inform your participation in the world. Ours is a community that values the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. We welcome you.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness. Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
Easter Again by Linda Susan Ulrich. Our opening words are, "We live inside paradox. Humans generally don't like to admit it. We much prefer tidy, stable, comprehensible, logical ways of getting through the day. But paradox is woven into the fabric of this particular universe we inhabit. Light is both a particle and a wave. Imaginary numbers describe the math of physical phenomena. Love and grief are inextricably linked, as are rage and sorrow, suffering and compassion, life and death. Time itself is both linear and cyclical. Each person's life traces a single arc, yet patterns emerge and re-emerge. Fear always seems to return. Goodness knows terror finds its way back into the news. We always seem in need of help to roll back big stones that block our way. Yet, we also come back to the Alleluia, even if its absence has gone on far longer than the 40 days of Lent. We raise each other's spirits when our sacred places seem empty. We anoint each other. We engage in demanding faith that asks us to love the next world into being today. We are joyful, though we have considered all the facts. We practice resurrection. It is Easter again, my friends, and you are surrounded by a multitude who wish you well.
Please rise in body and/or spirit for our opening hymn, number 360.
In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another, our joys and our sorrows. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrow with one another today knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. Please share your sorrows publicly by posting them in the Zoom chat if you're online, or send them to our Facebook Messenger, or speak them aloud in a few minutes.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
We also share our joys with one another, knowing that joy comes into all our lives. Knowing that joy calls unto joy, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Please share your joys publicly by posting them to the Zoom chat, or send them to our Facebook Messenger, or speak these aloud. Ours is a covenantal church, Latin for come together. Covenant means a solemn agreement or promise from the heart regarding a course of action between parties. The practice of promising to walk together is the core of our faith. Simply put, it is a guide for the behavior we expect from ourselves and each other. We are bound together by the promises we make to one another, and we recite our covenant during every worship service. Please rise in body or spirit as we recite our covenant.
We're going to do this in both English and Spanish, and this opening line does repeat. Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. Because we love one another, we celebrate life's abundance in service to each other, our community, and the world. Because we love one another, we connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together. And now in Spanish. Porque nos amamos una al otro. Porque nos amamos una al otro, honoramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Porque nos amamos una al otro, celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Porque nos amamos una al otro, ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y acepción. Así que hacemos pacto.
Put my hat on? Okay.
Yeah, you can.
All right. So, I think that most of you here know me. We do have a few visitors today, so they probably don't. But not everyone knows much about me. Now, I am up here today speaking to you because I ask about ideas for the church for this week. That evolved into me being asked to speak today. This is only my second time doing this too. At first, I didn't know what I was going to talk about. My mind went several places all at once. Did I want to talk about my own coming into the Unitarian Universal experience? Did I want to talk about what I feel is the importance of our Judeo-Christian heritage? Did I want to talk about the possibility that Jesus might have been an actual person in Middle Eastern history? Or maybe I wanted to talk about how harmed many of us were by our religion of origin, which for most of us is the conservative Christianity in the United States today. How would I tie any of these things to our recent focus on improving our anti-racist work in this congregation? The most direct answers to all these questions is a lesson in itself. Sometimes we don't have the answers, no matter how badly we want them. I'd love to hear someone, even if it has to be me, talk about all of these topics. I've decided today to focus on what I know best, my own experiences. I'd like to start by telling you about my first Unitarian Universal experience, which was at Easter nearly 30 years ago. Okay, I was doing the math in my head because I can't help but try to give my brain something to think about while I'm panicking about getting up here, and I believe it was 1995. My spouse, Tyler, had grown up in Mansfield and was more familiar with Arlington than I. I grew up in a very small town north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'm sure that most of you would not recognize the town name of Whitewright, Texas. If you do, it's most likely because some priceless German religious artifacts turned up in the bank vault in Whitewright in the early 1990s. The Dallas Museum of Art was allowed to briefly display the Quedlinburg treasures before they were returned to Germany. More important to the story is the fact that I grew up in a very small Texas town, but I was allowed to attend a variety of Protestant denominations and the closest Catholic church in Denison, Texas on occasion. So, Tyler and I had recently moved to Arlington after my graduation from Texas A&M. We wanted to attend some sort of Easter service somewhere, and I was at that time still more directly tied to my Christian upbringing, but was already feeling very out of place there. We decided to try this tiny little Unitarian Universalist church just a few miles west of here in Arlington. Our oldest child, who now goes by the letter R, was a toddler. That Easter Sunday, R was the only child in attendance. But they were given an already full Easter basket and provided with a wonderful little Easter egg hunt. The discussion that day was the relevance of the teachings of and about Jesus, and could we still find the good in those without the 2 millennia of baggage that typically accompany Christianity? I felt like I had finally found people who understood what I was going through in my struggles with my religion of origin. It would be more than 15 years before we attended a Unitarian Universalist church regularly. Maybe slightly less if it was actually 1995. And along the way, I made some friends who were also Unitarian Universalists. During those years, I mostly just ignored my desire to maintain faith in the person who was attributed with so many good lessons about how we should treat each other and the world, and the desire to leave behind the hellfire and brimstone that I had found in most Christian churches that I had tried out. But when my mother was dying of cancer in 2007, I began searching for meaning in her life, in her suffering, and my response to all of that. I was jealous of those people who could be so sure about this plane of existence and the next. My Unitarian Universalist friends became a major source of comfort to me, as did my own research on Unitarian Universalism, liberal Quakers, liberal Mennonites, and the like. The miracle I so desperately wanted for myself, to spare my mother's life and save her from the suffering she endured, never came. The peace that I begged for from this old man in the sky never came. Hardship and loss continued. As I lost my mom, and then my closest brother, and then my dad. That was all less than 3 years. My crisis of faith deepened. But through it all, I resisted becoming hardened to the stories of a man who literally gave up everything to comfort and feed others and to fight for better treatment of anyone who was marginalized in his culture. I was able to make peace with the fact that I still absolutely believed in patterning my life after the man who gave the Sermon on the Mount, but not having to believe in all the miracles attributed to his birth, life, and death. So in Unitarian Universalism, I came to understand that I had to make the difference that I wanted to see in this world. It is my responsibility to help others, to comfort others, to fight for fair and equitable treatment of women, of racial and cultural minorities, and to protect my LGBTQIA loved ones. I have come to a deeper understanding of who my neighbor is and what it means to love that neighbor as I love myself. In Unitarian Universalism, I can believe that one of the many prophets 2 millennia ago made a bigger impact than the rest. Such a large impact that he was a threat to the Jewish religious leaders of the time and to the Roman conquerors who ruled over them. I can believe that he was executed for such sedition without having to believe that he physically arose from his grave to continue his great work. I can reject most of the supernatural religious beliefs about that man while continuing his precious work of radically loving everyone I can. So while most of our society is involved in either the worship of a version of a white Jesus that definitely never existed, or in the rituals of spring and renewal of the season that so many cultures share, let us remember that the meaning of our lives is what we make it, and our UU heritage calls upon us to place radical love at the center of everything we do. Amen.
Join me in reciting the Widening the Circle of Concern covenant. We, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff, commit ourselves to the study and dismantling of racism and oppression within our congregation. We commit our congregation and ourselves to the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression. We commit ourselves to listening, to learning, and to action. When we fail, we commit ourselves to trying again and again. We covenant to begin this work and to continue until all of us can truly say that we are a beloved community of justice, equity, and compassion. Thank you. Our reading today for the widening moment comes from Austin Channing Brown, pictured there. Clearly a woman of color, and I am not, but I'm here to share her words with you. Austin Channing Brown is a writer, speaker, and practitioner who helps schools, nonprofits, and religious organizations practice genuine inclusion. Her writing has appeared in outlets like Christianity Today, Relevant, Sojourners, and the Christian Century. This passage that I'm going to read to you today is from a conversation with Brene Brown on the podcast Unlocking Us. It comes from June of 2020. And it's given the title Whiteness and Power Over by Austin Channing Brown. Austin writes, "My faith was born in the black church, but growing up, I was also constantly surrounded by white evangelicism. I've been around whiteness a long time and in all kinds of different denominations. I've seen them all. I learned the hard way that there is a deep difference between the Jesus that black folks worship and the Jesus that white Christians worship. The Jesus that black folks worship doesn't ask questions like, but does the gospel really have anything to do with race and injustice? Black Jesus doesn't hesitate to say, Black lives matter. Black Jesus, Austin writes, stands for the oppressed, cares about those who are most marginalized, and not just cares, sits with, lives with, fights for, is angered by the mistreatment, protests with. White Jesus is primarily interested in self, in money, in capitalism. How much can I get? How much power can I hoard? It's all about self, and it's all about the preservation of self, or ego, mostly power, a deep desire to wield power over others. Power over is white Jesus. Power over is a Christianity that would say, slavery is the way God intended things to be. Ms. Channing Brown continues, my experience as a black woman who has grown up in the era post the Civil Rights Movement and post perceived integration, my experience is that white folks want just a pinch of blackness, just a splash, a smattering, a little toss of confetti of blackness in order to affirm itself, in order to affirm its own goodness, in order to affirm its rightness, in order to get rid of any feelings of guilt, in order to keep itself comfortable so that it can continue to practice power over. And that is the end of her passage, but I will lift up and stress there are a lot of different flavors of Christianity, and many of them are represented in this room, and she is talking about a real specific thing here. I wholeheartedly get it. Thank y'all very much.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place that is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. Members, if you are contributing cash towards your pledge, please use the envelope provided and write your name on it. To text your donation, see the number on your order of service, 214-225-5996. For more options, see oakcliffuu.org/donate.
I give, together we share, and from this we live. De tio recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. I give, together we share, and from this we live. De tio recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
Our closing words today are by Rebecca A. Edmiston Lang, and it's entitled, Some People Say That Jesus is the Light of the World. Some people say that Jesus is the light of the world. We can all be that light of the world if we seek seek to act in ways that enlarge the realms of love and justice. When we share another's pain or offer a comforting ear to a friend in need, we are the light of the world. When we give bread to the hungry or support ways to house the homeless, we are the light of the world. When we fight temptations to wrongdoing within ourselves and treat our neighbors with respect, we are the light of the world. When we try to overcome differences with understanding and solve conflict with peaceful means, we are the light of the world. When we look for the good in other people and in ourselves, we are the light of the world. When we do not stay quiet in the face of prejudice, but speak our minds firmly and gently, we are the light of the world. When we fight despair within ourselves and side with hope, we are the light of the world. When we use our powers justly and in the service of love for humanity, we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. Amen and amen.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.
It's that time. Please turn and greet your neighbor, and let's show the love and respect we feel for each other in our individual journeys together.